Why does it seem like Gen Z people have more common sense when it comes to parenting with technology than millennial people do?
Because when we say we're worried about becoming iPad parents, we're not talking about the safety of the internet, which I know is a hot topic of debate in the news right now. We're more referring to the deeply concerning behavior we're seeing from Gen Alpha. I want to give my perspective today as a Gen Z who's almost like a cusper millennial Gen Zer, because I've seen both sides of this argument. Yes, she is referring to articles like this where I've been featured in and they did me dirty with the photo. First of all, I pretty much agree with all of her arguments, but one of her main arguments is that she knows that Gen Z is well aware that kids will get around parental controls on apps and screens because we did it. Millennials didn't have as many of those, so they don't know how easy it is for kids to figure that out. While I agree with that statement, I'm also not naive enough to think that if I don't give my kid an iPad or a cell phone, they're not going to figure out a way to access that stuff anyways. I remember at one point in middle school, my sister literally bought a burner cell phone off of the neighbor kid behind my mother's orders and back, so they're going to figure out a way to access this stuff. I was at a concerning age when websites like Chat Roulette and Omega were popular and first dropped. And we always had friends whose parents were too strict to let them do stuff like that, obviously. So we'd all just go over to someone else's house whose parents didn't keep locks on the desktop. So they're going to figure out a way to access things on the internet they shouldn't be seeing one way or another. It is an unfortunate reality and very concerning, almost rite of passage on the internet until all of these sites figure out how to protect children and people in general better. Like there were always kids in the lunchroom begging for a turn on your iPod. And you shared it with them because you were friends. So my opinion is that my kids will be getting iPads because technology is important to learn, and if you don't give them access to technology, you're really stunting them in the long run. And most studies and research indicate that it's not the presence of it, it's the excessive unregulated use of it all that's leading to behavioral and developmental issues. But it's going to be used in the same way we would use our Leap pads or the desktop computer at home. At home, it stays in a certain area, or it's just heavily monitored, and you get a very limited amount of usage of it every day or week. If we're out running errands and doing something in a public space for a super long time, or on road trips or airplanes, of course it will go with us. But I do really like this creator's concept of having flip phones or phones that don't have access for the internet. Maybe when they're in middle school and start doing sports or something. I haven't thought that far ahead.